Now when you read the title of this video, what do you think? I think of some people that find things to be extraordinary and experience an immensely vast range of amazing feelings towards something that to me seems quite boring, if I do say so myself. Or, to me, finding wonder in the ordinary can also mean how someone with quite a small understanding of a subject, let's say for example the ancient Egyptians or something like that, just because they don't understand what is actually happening back then, doesn't mean they can't experience or dream about such an interesting topic. The beauty in the statement, finding wonder in the ordinary, is that everyone, and I mean everyone, can have a different opinion or view on something, no matter how quote unquote boring it might be. And that leads us into our first chapter, misunderstood art. Now what is misunderstood art? When I say misunderstood art, I don't mean, oh, how was this poor artist feeling at the time? Was he sad? Was he happy? No. To me, it's when, for example, a person spots a dinosaur in a 16th century painting or something like that, you get me? When we all know dinosaurs were discovered until quite recently, in terms of human history that is. Take this image for reference, a painting of Pieter Bruegel the Elder. Here we clearly see figures that look Jurassic, right? Like, to me that's a dinosaur, right? So, what do we have? A 1562 painting that isn't a fake. 3 dinosaur-like creatures are present. We have people around them and riders on top. Could this be that Pieter Bruegel was an eyewitness of the dinosaurs still walking the planet? Or is it maybe something a little more simple? And don't get me wrong, people will defend this down to the ground that this is evidence that dinosaurs could still walk among us. Pahari Kawa on TikTok has made a great video on this topic. I really hope I didn't butcher his name.
Hello my friend, how on earth does a painting from the 16th century display dinosaurs? Well my friend, the answer is actually very interesting. We are fortunate enough to live in an era where we have immediate access to images of literally any creature mankind knows of. But that wasn't really the case historically, was it? So there were cases of people trying to paint creatures that they had not actually seen, simply basing them off descriptions that they've read. So this could have been a depiction of an elephant or perhaps a camel, in a time where such creatures could only be found in books. Similarly, here's another attempt at drawing a camel. Now this attempt at drawing a camel ended up looking like a Pokemon. Isn't that interesting?
As my man gracefully explained, most of, if not everything, extraordinary or supernatural has an explanation based in reality. And as he said, it's more than likely a depiction of a camel or a horse painted by a person who doesn't know what any of these things look like, as they obviously didn't have readily available images of one and painted on pure description alone. Or is it actually a man riding a stegosaurus in the 16th century? And of course I want to believe there's still dinosaurs kicking about, and there very well could be. But until the day we find a man from Florida with a velociraptor out his backyard, it will always be more than likely the boring explanation. But nah, for real, Florida is the best chance we have of finding something supernatural or prehistoric still alive, because they're on a whole nother level down there. Here's another example of widespread misinformation or misunderstanding of a piece of art. These are hieroglyphics from ancient Egypt. Now what's the first thing you notice when you look at this image? You see a helicopter, don't you? Or maybe even a spaceship, right? Now is this evidence that aliens visited the ancient Egyptians? Maybe they built their pyramids for them, or maybe they gave them some advanced technology to help them grow and get smarter as a civilization. Or maybe is it just that the ancient Egyptians were just very smart already, and these carved hieroglyphics are just more than one carving on top of another. Maybe the people who say this is proof that an alien civilization has visited Earth and helped humans advance, they're right, maybe they're right. To me, a more simple answer seems the most likely, and that sadly is just one engraving on top of another. But that's just my opinion on misunderstood art. Now let's go on to the next section, cryptids. Now, what is a cryptid? Well, by definition, a cryptid is an animal or being whose existence or survival is disputed or unsubstantiated. Basically, if there are rumors going around of an 8-foot tall lizard in your neighborhood, but nobody can seem to get real evidence of it, other than, of course, this stereotypical shaky video camera footage where you can barely make out anything, well, that's a cryptid.
I was having a conversation about what Facebook stands for.
And my name is Cryptid Paradise, for God's sake. Of course I want to find a real cryptid. I've always been obsessed with the topic of mythical or ancient creatures possibly still out there living in the world. We all know the famous ones, like Bigfoot, which is more than likely just a black or brown bear standing on his 2 hind legs in a densely packed forest, or the Loch Ness Monster, aka Nessie. That lake has been scanned 1,000,000 times, dive teams have searched everywhere, and there hasn't been real footage ever caught of the beast, so it's more than likely just floating driftwood in the loch. Another one would be El Chupacabra, which is supposedly a hairless vampire demon dog looking thing that mutilates and sucks the blood from local farm animals in Mexico and southern USA. It's probably just a dog with mange, to be honest. Mange is a skin disease that affects mammals caused by microscopic mites that burrow into the skin, which causes hair loss. Even just recently there was footage caught of a supposed goat man in Texas. This footage was caught outside of a Texas zoo and nobody can explain what it is.
Yeah, a photo actually, and it comes from Amarillo, the zoo in Texas. Some sort of creature, Matt Winter not. Like I said, someone could be wearing a costume, we're really not sure. But this picture was captured outside of a barbed fence. The city of Amarillo posted the photo on Facebook and asked people if they could help identify it.
Well, I don't have an explanation for it, or like what it is. I can guarantee you it's not a half man, half goat baiting about Texas. There are also people out there who call themselves cryptozoologists. Cryptozoology is a pseudoscience and a subculture that searches for and studies unknown, legendary or extinct animals whose presence or existence is disputed and unsubstantiated. A cryptozoologist, in my opinion, can be somebody who genuinely wants to find answers to these questions and sightings of mysterious beasts throughout time, using science and logic. Or they can just be someone who milks others for their naivety and lack of knowledge for their own monetary gain or status. Like, for example, them shows like Finding Bigfoot, where they never show an actual Bigfoot, just shaky footage in the dark with some gorilla or bear sounds sprinkled in here and there. And I know this one was a parody of sorts, but the documentary that played on the Discovery Channel in 2012 called Mermaids, The Body Found. When I was younger, I remember watching it live with my grandparents, and I could not believe my eyes, because it was the Animal Planet. Whatever they say, you believe. That's where you get your animal facts. Like, if you want to know how many times a turtle farts in a day, you go to Animal Planet. When they said this,
what we were looking at was a mermaid.
my tiny child mind was blown. I couldn't believe a quote-unquote scientist was saying this. It was incredible. I remember going into school and asking my friends if they'd seen it too, and we all couldn't believe what was happening. But eventually I grew up, and throughout the years I found out it was fake. I was devastated that a place where we supposedly went for facts on the animal kingdom straight up lied to everyone. I couldn't believe it. Looking back on it now, the documentary itself, I can clearly see that it was blatant CGI, but at the time it was real to me. Things like this is why I have such a distrust and skepticism towards so-called cryptids. And I know, cryptid is in my name, but it's just a kill word. Now, what do superpowers have to do with finding wonder in the ordinary? Well, I don't mean people with actual superhuman abilities like the ability to fly or having super strength. No. I mean people who train in one specific thing for thousands and thousands of hours, sometimes their whole life. People have such a mastery in one specific activity like Michael Phelps in swimming or Usain Bolt in running. Another example of these type of people are the people who have a weird set of skills that they have mastered. And when I say weird, I mean like non-sport related skills. Like, I don't know if anyone has ever seen a show called Stan Lee's Superhumans. I used to watch it all the time. This guy, in collaboration with Stan Lee, travels the globe in search of people with quote-unquote superhuman abilities and finds out if the claims are true or not. And of course none of them has superhuman skills. They have just trained in one specific thing for over 10,000 hours, or their body is built completely differently to everyone else on Earth. Now in my opinion, that's the everyday wonder we can all experience in the ordinary. Another example of this would be when there are accidents that happen, and let's say a car flips over and a child is stuck underneath, and somehow in some strange turn of events the mother is able to lift the car off the child. That's crazy, isn't it? That's so crazy. Like, how is that even possible? But it is, it really is. It has actually happened. Picture this, you live in Lawrenceville, Georgia in 1982. You're a middle-aged mom and grandmother, and you're just doing your thing on a Friday afternoon. You've got some housework going, your teenager Tony, a junior in high school, is out in the driveway tinkering with his 64 Chevy Impala, and you're wondering if anyone complained if you throw together a casserole for dinner. Everything's going okay until you hear a sickening crash outside. You run to see what it was, and you see your child lying unconscious under a car that's just fallen on top of him. What do? Well, if you're Angela Cavallo, you summon the strength of 10 men and you lift that car 4 inches off the ground, enough to drag your son to safety. Now, is she a superhuman? Well, what's actually happening is something called hysterical strength. And what is hysterical strength? Well, it's when a display of extreme physical strength by humans, beyond what is believed to be normal, usually occurring when people are perceive themselves to be in a life or death situation. The extra strength is commonly attributed to increased adrenaline production. This is amazing that this is even a thing. And I know you're probably all tired of me debunking everything by now, but what I'm saying is there is still wonder to be found in this world. There is. And I really can't wait for more of it to be discovered. Thank you all for watching. If you made it this far, you probably won't. I hope you enjoyed. And if you did, like and subscribe. Or don't. It's up to you, to be honest. Peace.